Hi, welcome to Street Priest Ministries. I'm your host, Brother Jay, as we're taking the Gospels back to the streets. Today's drive-through message is the Book of Jubilees, Part 4. We're plowing through this book slowly but surely. It's been very slow, but we're getting there. All right, Cain and Abel. And in the third week, in the second Jubilee, she gave birth to Cain. And in the fourth, she gave birth to Abel. And in the fifth, she gave birth to her daughter, Awan. Oh, this is for you guys that question, where was the sisters in the Bible? The Bible's pretty much have skipped over a lot of what the lost books fill in, as far as details are concerned. The Bible's kind of vague in that area. But these lost books, it's like a part, all this was part of the Bible. Like I told you, these books were taken out. And they're mentioned in the Bible. You can find the Book of Jubilees mentioned in the Bible, as well as the Book of Enoch, and quotes from it. So these books are authenticated. They were just taken out, and that's probably part of God's plan. And this was part of his revelatory plan in the last days, for this to be discovered and revisited. Just like he told Daniel and John to seal up their revelations, because part of fulfillment of God is the time period that you live in, where the puzzle makes sense, if you can get what I'm saying. The fulfillment of time. Look at prophecy like a mountain range. If you're at a distance from the mountain range, all the mountains look like one mountain until you get closer and closer. And then you can see individual mountains. Well, that's the same with prophetic revelation. That's why it's often misunderstood because it's not time yet for those things to be fulfilled. And then when the time comes, you can say, yes, now I understand what the scriptures were saying about these certain kingdoms and certain kings and certain prophetic things. God wrote all history in advance. But he told the Pharisees, he said, biblical history or biblical prophecy is being performed right now in front of you. I'm here. I'm the one that the scriptures was written of. But you guys are missing. You are not knowing the scriptures. Not knowing when prophetic times is right at the door. We're in the last days right now, where a lot of scriptures being fulfilled. And in the third week, in the second Jubilee, she gave birth to Cain. And in the fourth, she gave birth to Abel. And in the fifth, she gave birth to her daughter Awan. Now that would make sense of who their wives were. They married their sisters, obviously. Because back then, your genes, before men started to deteriorate, your gene pool was a lot stronger. That's why God forbade it. When it came down to Moses, from us marrying sisters and brothers and cousins and all that, you're going to have genetic deformities. You're going to have looking like those people that marry their cousins and brothers in England or in the Ozarks. You have all kind of ailments that go with that, and usually mongoloid looking, big heads, teeth problems, everything else. That's why God forbade. But then, the genes were stronger. You could do that. You could marry your sister. That's what they obviously did. And their cousins. Abraham married his half-sister. What was his half-sister? One is That was his, if I'm not mistaken, his, either one of his father's wives or his uncle's, the daughter. I think it was his father, yeah. I think it was Terrace, one of his wives. But it was his half-sister. And in the first year of the first Jubilee, Cain slew Abel, because God accepted the sacrifice of Abel and did not accept the offering of Cain. And he slew him, killed him in the field, and his blood cried from the ground to heaven, complaining because he slain him. And the Lord reproved Cain because of Abel. Now, I done taught on the Cain and Abel. Get that teaching, Cain and Abel, exactly. Because he had slain him, and he made him a fugitive on the earth because of the blood of his brother. And he cursed him upon the earth. And on this account is it written on the heavenly tables, cursed is he who smiteth his neighbor treacherously. And let all who have seen and heard say, so be it. And the man who have seen and not declared it, let him be accursed. One that covers it up. One that don't expose it. Let him be accursed as the other. And for this reason, that's a conspiracy in the murder. And for this reason, we announce when we come before the Lord our God, all the sin which is committed in heaven and on earth and in the light and in the darkness and everywhere. Jesus says nothing hid, it shall not be revealed. Nothing that occurred in darkness that shall not be brought to the light. And we have a lot being brought to the light now that was done in darkness. As God is executing judgment on the corrupt. A lot of corrupt are being exposed for the evil they done in darkness and thought they got away with it, serving darkness. And for this reason we announce when we come before the Lord our God all the sin which is committed in heaven and on earth and in light and in darkness and everywhere. And Adam and his wife mourned for Abel 4 weeks of years. And in the 4th year of the 5th week, they became joyful. And Adam knew his wife again, and she bare him a son, and called his name Seth. For he said, God hath raised up a second seed unto us on the earth instead of Abel, for Cain slew him. Now Cain was of the serpent seed, obviously. Remember what God said during the curse in the garden. He said there would be enmity in the woman between her seed, which is the line of Christ that was produced, the line of Christ, and the serpent seed, which was to produce the Antichrist, or the Antichrists. And these two seeds would be at war. And that's why Israel, which is the descendant of the righteous seed, the Christ line, God was so hard on because they became corrupt. And Satan tried to wipe out that seed and contaminate it with giants and everything else. God wasn't racist. He told them not to marry or intermarry with the Canaanites and all that. It had nothing to do with racism. It had to do with giants polluting the bloodline, their genetic pool. That's why. God is not a respected person. Hell's gonna be full of every nation as well as heaven. God made us all. And for this reason, he announced when he come before heaven and on earth and in the light and in the darkness and everywhere. And Adam and his wife mourned for Abel 4 years. In the 4th year of the week, they became joyful. And Adam knew his wife again. He had intercourse with his wife, old King James. And she bare him a son, and he called his name Seth. For he said, God hath raised up a second seed unto us on the earth instead of Abel. For Cain slew him, and in the 6th week he begged at his daughter Ezra, and Cain took Awan, his sister, to be his wife. Are you clear on that? He married his sister. All these people that get so confused, well, who did Cain and Abel marry? He married his sister. He's telling you right here in the Book of Jubilees. And in the 1st year of the week of the 5th week, houses were built on the earth. And Cain built a city and called it its name after the name of his son Enoch. And Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she bare yet 9 sons. And in the 5th week of the 5th Jubilee, Seth took Ezra, his sister, to be his wife. And in the 4th year of the 6th week, she bare him Enos. And he began to call on the name of the Lord on the earth. And in the 7th Jubilee, in the 3rd week, Enos took Noham, his sister, to be his wife. And she bare him a son in the 3rd year of the 5th week, and called his name Kenan. And at the close of the 8th Jubilee, Kenan took Maluath, his sister, to be his wife. And she bare him a son in the 9th Jubilee. And in the 1st week of the 3rd year of this week, and he called his name Mahaliel. And in the 2nd week of the 10th Jubilee, Mahaliel took unto him his wife, Dinah, the daughter of Barichiel, the daughter of his father's brother, and she bare him a son in the 3rd week in the 6th year. And he called his name Jared. For his days the angels of the Lord descended on the earth. Now that says the same thing in Genesis. The angels, the fallen angels that he descended on this earth. For in his days the angels of the Lord descended on the earth. Those are named the watchers, that they should instruct the children of men, and that they should do judgment and uprightness on the earth. And in the 11th Jubilee, Jared took to himself a wife, and her name was Barakah, the daughter of Rushiel, the daughter of his father's brother, in the 4th week of this Jubilee. And she bare him a son in the 5th week, in the 4th year of the Jubilee. And he called his name Enoch. Now Enoch, we read the book of Enoch. He was the 7th in line from Adam. But we read the book of Enoch. So you can get that teaching. That was in the Bible too, originally. And he was the first among men that are born on the earth, who learnt writing and knowledge and wisdom, and who wrote down the signs of the heavens according to the order of their months in a book, that men might know the seasons of the years according to the order of their separate months. And he was the first to write a testimony. Now, ain't nobody seen the things Enoch seen. He was shown more of the secrets of God's creation than any man, besides Christ himself. Christ was the Son of God. He spoke it into existence. But the point I'm making, Enoch was the man. First man that are born on earth, who learnt writing, knowledge, and wisdom, and who wrote down the signs of heavens according to the order of their months. Now you have early man, and you have primitive tribes that had this knowledge of the elliptical orbits of, we'll say, Sirius A, B, C. They weren't even discovered with modern telescopes until the 19th century, the 20th century. But they already had all these elliptical orbits mapped out. Things that we're not supposed to know about the celestial bodies. The possession of the equinoxes. Maybe 2,500 to 20 years. They had everything mapped out. The ages. Everything. Where did they get their signs and knowledge? Enoch. God split man up because of a Nimrod. We're going to come up on this in this book too. It talks about Nimrod. The rebel that set up the first Antichrist, that set up the world order against God. He was the first Antichrist. But anyway, God caused division in Babylon because man was united. Nimrod had united the man to go to war against God and built that Tower of Babel, the ziggurat, which I believe was some kind of portal he was trying to build to go up into heaven and declare war on God. Open up some kind of dimensional gateway. Ziggurat, a giant Ouija board, a transport to go into heaven to declare war on God. Early accounts say he shot bow and arrows up at heaven. He was a fool. But anyway, God confused the tongues and languages of man and split them into 70 languages and dispersed men all over the earth. But he took that knowledge with him in different cultures and languages. So all men knew the original God, but they chose to serve Satan and get into pagan human sacrifices, and now that's what cannibal means, eating humans. Priest of Baal, cannibal, the priest of Baal is where it comes from. Eating humans and drinking blood, vampirism and all that. It came from Babylon. And man took that paganism with him around the world. All cultures, the witches, warlocks, wizards, practice this pagan religion. As well as worshiping the elements God created, and worshiping the stars, the sun, the moon, and all that. Perversion. All that thanks to Nimrod and his evil, wicked wife Semiramis. And her son Tammuz. Now, this perverted religion, this occult religion, ancient occult, spread around the world. They took their traditions with them. You see, all these religions are the same. But they all have a record of God, the flood, everything. All these ancient cultures. I don't care if they're Aztec, Mayan. I don't care if it's Middle East, Chinese, ancient Chinese, Olympic cultures, Eskimo. I don't care where you go. The most remote, the Fiji Islands. I don't care where you go. Africa, the Dolan tribe in Africa. And he was the first among men that are born, wrote down the signs of heaven according to the order of their months in a book, that men might know the seasons of the years according to the order of their separate months. And he was the first to write a testimony. He testified to the sons of men among the generations of the earth, and recounted the weeks of the Jubilees, and made known to them the days of the years, and set in order the months, and recounted the Sabbaths of the years, as we made them known to him. And what he saw in the vision of his sleep, And as it happened to the children of men throughout the generations, unto the day of judgment. He wrote the beginning from the end, Enoch. The beginning of his generation, the Atlantean civilization, all the way until these last days we're in. Like I said, no man's gotten revelation. You heard me say that in Enoch. He learned all the secrets, all prophecy, the coming of Christ, everything. The generations of children of Israel from Abraham through his lineage all the way to Christ. David, all of it. He knew. He saw and understood everything and wrote his testimony and placed a testimony on earth for all the children of men and for their generations. Like I said, everybody had some kind of version, a copy of the original creation, thanks to Enoch, along with the celestial bodies and knowledge that wasn't even understood until the 18th, 19th century that we're in, with modern technology, telescopes and whatnot, satellites. But these men possessed this knowledge. The Bible says nothing new under the sun. Man was actually more advanced than he was now. He's just now beginning to catch up to where he was. And the fallen angels are definitely, Satan and his crew was helping man out behind the scene. Hitler was a member of a society, the Vril Society, having seances, getting this advanced knowledge from these fallen angel demons, Satan and his crew, demons. This got us where we are right now. Notice it was an explosion of science and knowledge in the early 20th century. Like I said, we're just now catching up. They were already. That's why God wiped them out. They got so advanced with the technology, they became evil and wanted to use it to wipe one another out. They had nuclear technology at all. Nuclear fission, all. Fusion and fission. Of men for their generations. And in the 12th Jubilee, in the 7th week thereof, he took to himself a wife, and her name was Edney, the daughter of Daniel, or Daniel, the daughter of his father's brother. Like I said, it was nothing to marry your cousin, sister, whatever, half-sister. And in the 6th year, in this week, she bare him a son, and he called his name Methuselah. And he was moreover with the angels of God these 6 years, or these 6 jubilees of years. And they showed him everything which is on earth and in the heavens, the rule of the sun. And he wrote down everything. And he testified to the watchers who had sinned with the daughters of men. For these have begun to unite themselves so as to be defiled. That's the fallen angels that landed on Mount Hermon, which means cursed. They took an oath, and they intermarried with the women and produced giants. Beings early on, the first generation, they said, was like 4 stories. 400 feet tall, 450. Where do you think the Greeks get the story of the Titans? Those aren't just fairy tales or fables they're telling you real history. They done discovered plenty of giants, thousands of giants, caves around the world, mounds. And the evil dark forces that be is trying to cover it up because it proves God right. God said giants in his book. They don't want to prove, they want to stick with the falsehood, their false science. They don't want the real science of God, disproving their fake theories, alley-oop, bonehead theories. This is the beginning of the giants right here. The angels defiled themselves with women. Okay, and he said, where was I at? I'm about to put up here. And he testified to the watchers who had sinned with the daughters of men. God had brought judgment on a lot of them. They were bound in chains in the abyss. Prison for angels, Tartarus. For these had begun to unite themselves so as to be defiled with the daughters of men. And Enoch testified against them all. And he was taken from amongst the children of men. And we conducted him into the Garden of Eden in majesty and honor. And behold, he writeth down the condemnation and judgment of the world, and all the wickedness of the children of men. And on account of it, God brought the waters of the flood upon the land of Eden. Enoch prophesied that God was he warned man, God's bringing the flood. And through his, I believe it was his grandson Noah, or either great-grandson, one of them. And on account of it, God brought the waters of the flood upon the land of Eden. And there he was, set as a sign, that he should testify against all the children of men, that he should recount all the deeds of the generations unto the day of condemnation. And he burnt the incense of the sanctuary, even sweet spices, acceptable before the Lord on the mount. For the Lord had 4 places on the earth, the Garden of Eden, and the Mount of the East, and this mountain on which thou art this day, Mount Sinai, and Mount Zion, which will be sanctified in the new creation for a sanctification of the earth. Through it will the earth be sanctified from all its guilt and all its uncleanness throughout the generations of the world. And in the 14th Jubilee, Methuselah took unto himself a wife, Edna, the daughter of Azrael, the daughter of his father's brother, in the 3rd week in the 1st year of this month. And he begat a son, and called his name Lamech. And in the 15th Jubilee, in the 3rd week, Lamech took unto himself a wife, and her name was Bednos, the daughter of Berichiah, the daughter of his father's brother. And in this week she bare him a son, and he called his name Noah, saying, This one will comfort me for my trouble and all my work, for the ground which the Lord hath cursed. Because God's going to wipe it out. It's polluted with giants running around. Satan tried to pollute the gene pool of man because he knew the Messiah was coming through that gene pool. God had announced it in Genesis, that through the seed of woman, he was going to bring salvation to man, Christ. His son was coming through the seed of the woman, God incarnate, so he can save man and rescue man and pay the price for sin. So all of us would have had a guaranteed ride to hell and lake of fire if it wasn't for Christ. At the close of the 19th Jubilee, in the 7th week, in the 6th year thereof, Adam died, and all his sons buried him in the land of his creation. And he was the first to be buried in the earth. I don't know about what happened with Abel. I thought Abel was the first. And he lacked 70 years of 1,000 years. So he lived 930 years. The Bible said the day with the Lord is 1,000 years. And 1,000 years is one day. No man lived a full day. God said for sin come death. And the graveyard's been testifying to it ever since Satan was alive. And he lacked 70 years of 1,000 years. For 1,000 years are as one day in the testimony of the heavens. See? And therefore was it written concerning the tree of knowledge. On the day that you eat thereof, you will die. See? Who was right? God or Satan? Go around and look at all the mortuaries, the tombstone. And God was right. Man been dying ever since. We all got to die. Me included. We all got a date. And we all going, the Bible said it's appointed once for men to die, after that, the judgment. We all passing through. We all going to spend eternity somewhere. Hell or heaven. You have a free choice. God gave you free will. And he lacked 70 years of 1,000 years. For 1,000 years is one day of testimony of the heavens. And therefore it was written concerning the tree of knowledge. On that day you eat of, ye shall die. For this reason he did not complete the years of this day. For he died during it. God's always going to be right. At the close of the Jubilee came, but 930 years is still a long time. I mean, considering our lifespan now, what are we good for now? We're a good 70, 80 years? I don't know what all this cancer going around, I don't know. 2 out of 3 seem to be getting cancer now, thanks to all the poison in the food, the water, the air. As we got the evil dark forces that beat us, trying to exterminate us like a bug. They're working for their master, who hates mankind, Satan himself. His underlings. But nobody made it to 1,000 years. At the close of the Jubilee, Cain was killed after him in the same year, for his house fell upon him, and he died in the midst of his house. And he was killed by its stones. Could have been an earthquake. Excuse me. For with a stone he had killed Abel, God's judgment. So he used the stone to kill him. For by a stone he was killed in righteous judgment. For this reason it was ordained on the heavenly tables. With the instrument with which a man killeth his neighbor, with the same shall he be killed. That's why Jesus said, you live by the sword, you die by the sword.